We'll also give you some tips on how to work your car professionally, but first here's Ted with the Nissan 300ZX Twin Turbo.
It's not easy to redefine a classic, but Nissan may be doing just that with the all-new 300ZX. Our bright yellow twin turbo model is easily the best version of this series that Nissan has produced. It looks good from every angle and goes like a bat out of Hades. But first, a little history. The 300ZX is Nissan's latest incarnation of their successful Z car line, which goes right back to the fabled 240Z, which debuted in 1970. The 240 was an instant success story. Its winning combination of an attractive body style, a six-cylinder engine that seemed to run forever, and first-rate handling qualities put it into the cult car category right from day one. Nissan is obviously hoping history will repeat itself with the 300ZX, and from what I've seen, that may just happen. The new 300 is a formidable piece of machinery. Its 3-liter twin-turbocharged V6 develops 300 horsepower at 6,400 RPM, and in combination with a beautifully designed 5-speed manual transmission, takes this car from 0 to 100 clicks in about 6 seconds. A 4-speed automatic transmission is also available. To put all this brute power to good use, the 300ZX has a suspension system that is among the most sophisticated in the industry. Like its luxury sedan relative, the Infiniti, it has steering rear wheels, a system Nissan called INGRESS, or High Capacity Actively Controlled Suspension. Briefly put, this allows the rear wheels to flex during high-speed cornering and makes the 300 one of the more stable sports cars on today's market. It's no exaggeration to say that the 300ZX Twin Turbo may be the fastest car on the road, costing under $50,000. And the price for our Twin Turbo test car was $48,900. Its only real competitor in terms of top-end performance and sheer handling is the Mazda RX-7 Turbo 2. And it would be interesting to pit these two against each other on a track. I wouldn't care to predict which one would take it. It's that close. Inside the 300, it's all business. Nissan have obviously put a lot of thought into the ergonomics of this car, and it shows, mainly in the area of instrumentation and controls. The one exception here is the climate control system, which gets my vote as the most confusing and illogical one of its kind in the world. I learned to despise this system. I also found INGRESS and EGRESS to be bad. Because of the low roofline and high thigh supports on the bucket seats, getting in and out of the thing takes some maneuvering. Although the non-turbo version of this car can be had as a 2+2, the twin turbo cannot. Nevertheless, it gets full marks for storage space. Because the rear hatchback follows the car's waistline, it reveals a surprisingly ample storage area. Unfortunately, the price paid for this design characteristic is a car that is extremely difficult to back up and not at all suited to point and squirt city driving. Side and rear visibility is poor, and there are blind spots the size of Newfoundland out the sides. But if high-speed touring is your thing, this is the car for you. The 240Z is a tough act to follow, but Nissan may just pull it off with this car. In the market segment for flat-out driving thrills, there's really only a couple of cars that can match the 300ZX Twin Turbo. One of them, as I mentioned, is the RX-7 Turbo 2, which is very close in almost every department. Less comfortable, though. Another is the Porsche 944 S2, which is definitely as quick through the turns, but may be a little slower on the straightaway. And let's not forget the Mustang GT, which, in the right hands, could give the 300 a real run for its money. All I can say is, wow.
Well, wow, indeed. I mean, this is a wonderful-looking car. It's the best-looking car, sports car around this side of a Ferrari. They've done a lovely job with it. Looks good from every angle. It looks better than any Porsche, in my view. Few little things to complain about. Looking through the car, through the rear-view mirror, the rear window is like a letterbox. It's like peering through a letterbox. It's very, very narrow, and visibility isn't too great. Nothing we can do about that. I wouldn't want to spoil the look of the car, really. The other thing I ask is the turbo worth 10 grand more? I mean, one can say, well, there are other things beside the turbo, twin turbos on this car. It has some other features, of course, and so forth. But even so, I think I'd go with the basic one. I like it so much, it looks the same. I'd save some money and buy the basic one.
Yeah, well, I guess $5,000 per turbo for the extra is a lot of money to ask. But getting back to your point about styling, if this car had a Ferrari badge on it, it would sell for $200,000.
It would, yeah.
It looks that good, in my opinion.
It does look that good. I mean, it looks, in some ways, even better. It's a beautifully balanced design. Yeah. The interior is very nice, too. But talking about saving money, if you really want to save some money, buy a 240SX hatchback. it looks very similar. It's got a very similar interior. The interior is almost identical, and it costs 18 grand or
yeah,
something.
but it won't even hold a candle to this one in performance-wise. You know, I just want to touch on that climate control system. I know that you and I tend to belabor this point a lot, or at least I do. But that climate control system, to me, is here you have a very nice car, obviously well designed. A lot of thought has gone into this car, and then there's this thing there that doesn't work.
Exactly, and I think that, you know, one of the problems is that there's a perception among offshore manufacturers that North Americans want this kind of gadget. Personally, a simple, you know, a couple of dials and a sliding lever is fine. Let me adjust. I'll tell you when I want out of those vents.
Especially in view of the fact that this is a sports car, and a sports car should have some hands-on feel about it, you know, and that climate control takes away. The other thing that I didn't mention is that when you open the door, there's a pillar that comes up for structure, I would assume, that I think is really in bad taste. So they should try to somehow do away with that. I don't know. Yeah,
it's hard to say. I mean, the car is so much better than the old 300ZX, which was really had become quite a dog and came in for a lot of criticism.
Right. Anyway, so good. 2 big thumbs up with this car. A few things we didn't like. Rear visibility is pretty bad. Car is difficult to back up, no doubt about that. Ingress and egress, which means getting in and out of it, I found to be harder than it should be. And the price, well, let's say it's 50 grand. That's a lot of money to spend for a car. On the other hand, the styling is impeccable. Performance, breathtaking. Handling, again, first class. All things considered, very good car.
Well, there's no question about it. Nissan seems to be doing everything right now. Everything right. We're going to come back and look at